Hi, I wanted to take a look at Jeffrey Epstein's astrology, his personal astrology. Now, his birth certificate is there, the 20th of January 1953, but it's not really clear whether it's AM or PM. Now, AstroSeek, which I have the greatest of respect for, have it as AM. But there was a big debate on an astrology forum a couple of months ago with other astrologers. Some people were pitching for the AM. For me, it's the PM. I'm going to share both charts with you and you can forge your own opinion. So, Jeffrey Epstein at the PM time has an ascendant in Leo. Leo can be very charismatic, but his ascendant at 1631 is in the second decan of the sign of Leo, which is sub-ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is very much about self-confidence, assurance, expansion, but it can be also linked to international business. But critically, Pluto, the planet which is to do a transformation but power, is in the first house in Leo. I think that's really critical because Pluto can be about dominance. And then if we think about the 10th house cusp, he has that in Taurus. Taurus is the sign of money, life foundations, but also value. But he has Jupiter amplifying that 10th house cusp at the PM time. There's very few people with Jupiter in Taurus that aren't pretty savvy with resources, but someone in the 10th house will probably do extremely well. So that's intriguing. Now, the other thing that we can do is obviously look at some of the standout details that people have been guided by as far as his attraction to sexual pursuits. And having Mars and Venus in an almost exact conjunction seems to be a pointer towards that, but there'd be plenty of people with that combination who are not involved in these kind of crimes. But the key is at the PM chart, it's in the eighth house. The eighth house can be very compulsive, but it's also very alluring. It's drawing us towards something that we want to connect with, and from that, we can transform ourselves. Clearly, Mars, although it is a little lost in the sign of Pisces, rather subterranean, as far as being the traditional ruler of Scorpio, the eighth house is an echo of that scorpionic energy. So that really calls out to me. So there's a compulsion there. However, if we look at the position of the sun at this time, it's in the practical sixth house. Practicalities in terms of details, but also Mercury, the planet which can be to do with commerce, in the sixth house, an echo of its Virgoan energy. But Mercury in Capricorn can be very strong for business people. But it also puts the North Node pretty close to the seventh house cusp. So this is a person who has been drawn in his life to connections, but connections through his work, the sixth house. The sixth house can be about providing services, and I'm talking about financial services here, so that's intriguing. But if we look at the position of the moon at this time, it's in house nine, a house which is very much to do with freedom, independence, can have an appreciation of travel, and again, international affairs. It's also in the second decan of Aries, sub-ruled by the Sun, which is the ruler of Leo. So that bolds that and animates that moon position. I think that's really intriguing there. But if we take the midpoint between the sun and the moon and divide them at the shortest intersection, we get the midpoint in his chart is in Pisces. My technology letting me down there. Come on, I'm doing this on the fly. So it's 7 degrees, 7 degrees in Pisces in the seventh house. What is this guy supremely skilled at doing? Cultivating relationships, just not always appropriate relationships. So if we think about the connection between that midpoint and the 10th house, it's perfect. It's a perfect sextile. So again, his ability to be very mutable in his approach through that Piscean energy, which can be opaque, but very skilled at leaning into people sensitively. But that links back to that 10th house cusp, but also critically Jupiter. Now, in terms of the South Node, the habitual side of his nature, which he may have found difficult to break free from. Yes, Black Moon Lilith is there, and it's also in the sign of Leo. So that combination there is perhaps where he wants to be more secretive, and that secretiveness and forbidden fruits is obviously in a broader zodiacal sense. Leo can be the sign of speculation and risk. 12th house. Also, Uranus is in the 11th. All this vast array of different varied friendships with people across many different spectrums. Also, in terms of being a free spirit around his connections to others, this isn't a person who seems to have stable emotional or romantic relationships. Uranus in an exact trine with Venus and Mars. That would make him very picky about being close. The eighth house could be a desire for intimacy at one hand, and Uranus brings in another need to then separate quickly. Intriguing. If we then put Saturn and Neptune, which are very close together, he's born with similar outer planets to Putin. So, and of course, that's one of the things that's come up in this latest batch. There's lots of correspondence with Putin. So Saturn's exalted in Libra, but Neptune brings guile and it brings the sleight of hand in the third house of communication. Very many artists have that influence because there's the structure, but the charm of Libra, but potentially seduction through Neptune. Then, if we think about the square between Neptune and Mercury, and also to some extent Saturn, it's a bit broader, and Mercury. So that creates a degree of tension between the third and the sixth houses. This person who had a need for 3 or 4 massages a day. But what about his weak spot in his chart? So that's the midpoint between the two malefics. So we can look at the midpoint between the sun and the moon. That's the yin yang of the chart. The moon's the queen of the chart. The king is the sun. The sun is the king, pardon me. And their midpoint is the core of who he was. So a skilled relator in Pisces. But the midpoint between the two malefics is in the fifth house, the fifth house of children, but also romance. So these two, the greater and lesser malefic, Saturn and Mars, in the fifth house, also Chiron in the fifth house. He never seemed to be able to have a satisfactory romantic relationship. And then the sixth house energy of the sun, including the conjunction with Eros, for me, it seems his relationships were transactional. So he got what he needed from those relationships. But if we look at his success, the sun is in a trine with the path of fortune in the 10th house. Again, this skill as a communicator. And because he got Pluto in the sextile with Neptune, but also Saturn, this is a person who is very strategic in my view. So that's the PM chart. Let's have a look at the AM chart and see how that pans out. Well, it puts the ascendant in Capricorn, and I think people have seized on that because Capricorn is or can be the sign of the physical realm and physical culmination, so it can be to do with business. But let's dive deeper. Someone with Chiron on the first house could have quite big challenges about their personal identity. They might be the great life coach, but really find it more challenging to really believe in who they are. But he also has Mercury, the Sun, uh, Eros, and the North Node all in the first house. Was this person living his life only for his own individual needs? You might argue, yes. For me, it was much more collaborative. He had lots of relationships, huge relationships, with a huge cross section of business people, politicians from all different backgrounds, and also international politicians as well. So that first house energy is much more someone who wants to be totally, particularly in Aquarius, authentically themselves. Now, also, I think that some astrologers have seized on the fact that Venus and Mars are in the second house, which can be about sensuality and it can be about everyday money and values. And the midpoint is also in that second house. But the second house, for me, is much different to the eighth house. The eighth house has the potential for a need for domination, power, and that seems to be a big part of the narrative. So the second house here would be a love of luxury for sure. I'm not quite getting that. Also, this chart moves Jupiter into the fourth. So, yes, he may have had some lots of different properties. I think there was one somewhere down south in America, as well as the island, and obviously the apartment he had in Manhattan. It does put Uranus on the seventh house, so that could be that detachment around relationships, and it does bring Pluto into the seventh. That could be a potential to use people for what he wants. I do hear that. And it puts the malefics in the 12th house. Again, there may be something to consider, along with the part of fortune being up near the 10th house. It's really down to how you feel it, as far as the astrology, how that stacks up. Ceres, for example, very much where we can use our knowledge to help other people in a very practical way. It's in the fifth house. Um, I just feel this chart is much more of someone who would have a little bit of a seesaw. You can see the seesaw is very profound here between needing to focus on what they required of themselves. Also, Saturn's in the ninth house of international affairs and travel. This guy was traveling everywhere and had connections with people in different governments, financial institutions, contractual matters. For me, going back to this chart, I really feel very strongly that this is much more what this person was about. Business success, skilled relator, a desire that he couldn't combat for these young girls, but also this Pluto in the first house, that need to really live his life on his terms in a much more authoritative way, rather than Aquarius, which is much more of a humanitarian player. Here, it's much more functional. And also, his detailing, his ability to uh, have lots of information and details on all his different clients. You can see sixth house along with Mercury, that points towards precision. So that's my take on Jeffrey Epstein. I would say that the midpoint between the Sun and the Moon, and also Mars and Saturn, are very, very powerful in any chart, but also the midpoint between Venus and Mars. But I didn't need to share that because they're so closely aligned together. Please check out my new website at patrickarundell.com. We began it a year ago. It has been going for about 21 years, so it's one of the most long-standing of all the astrology sites. I think some of the big astrology sites, just being really genuine, have lots of information, but they're a bit generic. There's a sense there's a lack of soul. Our site has lots of information that very much comes from the heart. Please join us at patrickarundell.com. And if you'd like me to work with you on your personal astrology, if you've got some big life decisions to make, or you've had some particular experiences in your life so far that you'd like to understand, please check the link beneath this video and reach out for a one-to-one with me. Thank you so much for joining me. All the best and goodbye.